Welcome to Not Another CEO podcast. I'm your host, David Politis. Every week, we talk to inspiring leaders and get the true stories, the ups and downs, the lessons learned, and come away with actionable advice for our own journeys.
Hello, everyone. First of all, I want to wish you happy holidays and a happy new year. I know that most of the people listening to this are founders, CEOs, up-and-coming leaders, and aspiring entrepreneurs. My guess, you've probably been pushing yourself all year, juggling more than most people should try to juggle, and you've been sprinting to get everything done and closed before the end of the year. The good news is that the next 5-6 days, it is really the only time of the year that the volume of emails and work-related messages will go down to almost zero. It doesn't matter where in the world you are. This is when the world takes PTO. So now is a really good time to take a step back, recharge, and spend time with your loved ones. At the same time, it's a great opportunity to reflect on how far you and your company have come this year and ultimately visualize how you're going to attack next year. I'm going through that same process right now. The last year has been a unique one for me. It's the first time in my career, 20 plus years, that I've been working on multiple companies and projects at the same time. I've always prided myself on being hyper-focused, staying heads down on one thing at a time. And that's actually one of the reasons I think I've been so successful in my career. So this past year has been a new experience for me. And I've really enjoyed it. And the truth is, like, being able to widen my reach and impact more people and companies really feels good and has given me a lot of satisfaction. With all of that being said, when I look back on this year, on 2024, I'm going to remember it as the year of Not Another CEO podcast. When I first started talking to people about starting this podcast, they told me that I shouldn't do it. It's not going to be possible for me to stay consistent every week, that very few people get past 10 episodes and then they quit podcasting. It takes a long time to get listeners. It's going to cost a bunch of money. When I started telling people it was a long form podcast and that each episode was going to be an hour or more, they said, "Oh, you're not going to get in people's rotation. It's going to turn people off. People don't want to even come as a guest on a show like this because the recording is too long. I should go and edit the interviews down to 15 or 20 minutes so that people really listen to it." And look, honestly, not all of that was completely wrong, but I needed to be challenged like that. And it's what drives me. And we've now launched the show. We've delivered a new episode every single Tuesday since we launched. And we figured out a way to get in front of an increasing number of people week over week, month over month. So in this past year, in 2024, we had 22 CEOs on the podcast. Across those 22 episodes, we've actually had tens of thousands of listens and views. People have tuned in from 43 countries, and it keeps growing every week. And what I continue really to be the most proud of and what drives me is all the feedback and the notes that I've received from listeners by email, text, LinkedIn. There are people who've sent me really detailed feedback on the questions I ask, and they've made suggestions, and I've actually modified a number of the things that I do in the interviews and the questions I ask because of those notes. I've gotten messages from people who had a breakthrough moment in their business or even in their life because of something that they heard a guest talking about on the show. And I've actually had someone who sent me a email with a screenshot of one of the products that they bought because they heard the CEO talking about it on the show. And so I'm really proud of that. And it really does motivate me to keep growing and building this brand and this show. So as I look into next year, I want to be accountable to you, to the listeners, to everyone who's been supporting me. So I want to tell you my goals for next year is I want to keep going out and recruiting amazing CEOs. It does take time, but that's really important is people that others can learn from. I want to evolve, though, and get CEOs from all over the world, not just the US. I want to find CEOs that aren't just technology company CEOs, maybe a couple more bootstrap founders. People seem to really enjoy those stories as well. So I want to evolve kind of the groups of people that I have on the show. I also want to do a better job of sharing the knowledge that I'm capturing in these interviews, because there is so much gold in every conversation. Literally, I've listened to some of the podcasts multiple times to take notes. There's so much gold, but I need to figure out a way to extract that and make it more consumable for you and just the broader audience, because I think we're missing some of the great stuff that's in these episodes. And then the other thing is I'm going to start expanding the channels that I use to reach people who would benefit from this and to find new listeners. Right now, LinkedIn is really the only channel I use for promotion, and I can still improve at LinkedIn, and I'm going to, but I feel like in today's world, I need to expand to other platforms as well. So I'm going to try to do that as we go into next year. So with that, I just want to say thank you for supporting me on this journey so far. I really hope that you've enjoyed the episodes, and please keep the comments coming. If you know of any great CEOs, like really great CEOs that people could learn from, please send them my way. If you have any ideas on how I can reach more listeners, if you have any thoughts on the podcast at all, please reach out to me. You can reach out on LinkedIn or david@politisprojects.com. And I would love to hear from you. So with that, happy holidays, happy new year. See you in 2025. Thank you.
That's a wrap for this week's episode of Not Another CEO Podcast. Thanks for joining. For show notes and more, please visit notanotherceopodcast.com. We'll see you next week.